Hello and welcome to Is This England, a show where we talk about old and new England games and ask just how England was this.
It's an emergency celebration on the podcast where we look back over England's second ever major championships win, and they do it in some style.
Time can do. Baby, you mean everything to me.
It's come home.
It's home?
It's home.
What time do you call this?
That's classic. That's Lionesses, that is. Really like that. Well done. Yeah, it came home. It's home. It's back where it belongs. It being the Women's Euro trophy.
Second ever championships for England in just adult football. I guess it is, isn't
in
it?
life, in the history of the universe.
Grown up football that's not Le Tournoi.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how England get on in the Bicentennial Cup.
Nothing joke, nothing Eufy.
Yeah, nothing too sponsored, like an Umbro Cup or something like that. Yeah. It's like proper, this counts, it's going on the Wikipedia page.
And as you mentioned, it's an emergency celebration podcast. We didn't think we'd have to do this. We haven't, shame on us. We haven't really touched on this topic, the Women's Euro, so far. I don't proclaim to be the world's biggest football nerd, and I don't watch all the games in the world. You know, I spend way too much time watching old England games at the moment, and other than that, I watch a bit of club football.
Yeah.
It kind of passed me by, and then the final came around, and obviously getting to the hype, I ironed my old score draw England shirt, which hadn't been worn or washed since the Euros final.
You keep it in pristine condition, ready for the next time, for the next final. That's what it's for.
Yeah, it's the World Cup 2002 one with the red line down the side.
The Owen kit, as I always think of it.
And I just thought today I'm going to be a bandwagon jumper.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to jump on board and learn about it, and then by the end of the day or the night, I was in tears.
Yeah. Fair enough, though.
We'll jump back onto the game shortly, but first, a bit of a shilling. We want to get your likes and your subscribes in. So, if you're on social media, mainly Instagram and Twitter, follow us at isthisengland. You can always get in touch with the show by dropping us an email at isthisenglandpod@gmail.com. And please do give us a 5-star review on any podcast listening platform that you choose to listen to podcasts through. Nick, do you want to slag off other podcasts like you usually do?
Yeah. Has Josh Widdicombe got a new one out? I don't know. I haven't really got anything against him or anybody else. It's just I try and think of ones every now and then, and I'm just like, well, why is it not us? Just because you've got the comedian friends on it are all really popular.
It's the countdown is on until Beckett launches.
Oh shit, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've got to get a lot of women's football in, so we've got it in the bag as well now.
Now is the time. We're actually doing a time capsule for a year that we're only just about 8 months into.
Yeah.
I'll start, and I'm going to really go against the grain of the time capsule and put in something that is yet to happen.
So you're putting in an idea more than because it's not a physical thing, but it's not something that's actually been seen by many people yet, really.
No,
it's like you're looking forward to a solar eclipse. Well, that'll be the highlight of the year.
Yeah. I'm putting in the film Nope, which comes out on August the 12th, which should be 6 days after the release of this podcast. Nope is the latest film from Jordan Peele, and I've just realised that I've purposely avoided any information about the film other than watching the trailer, so I don't actually have anything to say other than judging by Us and Get Out, it should be amazing.
Yeah, he's got a good back catalogue so far of kind of like those horror films. I think he's done Candyman as well, but I don't think that's original from him.
I think a good back catalogue is a bit harsh.
But in terms of brilliance?
I think it's like if you could put them alongside Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, those two films equally match up to those for me.
They're up there for you, are they?
Yeah, they're just amazing. And I did Google Nope earlier to try and get a little bit of something anyway. I don't know. I still gave up because I don't want to spoil it for myself.
Yeah,
but,
I'm like that as well. I don't want to really I don't want to know too much about going into a film. If it's purposely like that looks good or it's by a certain director, I'll kind of stay clear of it.
Absolutely. And but they were saying about Get Out and Us, the amount of theories and theses and flipping university courses that have been taught centered around those two films, you know, they're so deep, they're so good. I've been blown away by watching both of those, and I can't think of a new sort of director. Not that I'm a massive film buff, but I can't think of a new director who's made such a good start to his career, and it does look like this Nope is going to be quite a big deal.
Yeah, and he's kind of got free reign to do whatever he wants from now on, and this seems an out there thing. I think I've only seen the trailer once or twice, and
I'm still not sure what to expect after watching it. Yeah,
no, I'm not. I mean, I'm not good with like, are there horror films? I guess they kind of.
I think they are. Yeah, us definitely.
Yeah, I think so.
That's got quite a lot of like horror themes in it, and the sort of the fairground.
Get Out, it's a bit more of a thriller, I want to say, with horror tendencies. I mean, when I remember seeing that when there's a scene in it where there's just a guy running across a lawn to someone, and I was just like, oh God, no. Like, what? I was just at home alone, just like, what have I done? No.
I really want to watch it again now.
It is great. All I remember is just seeing lots of creepy, wavy boys in the background of just like these weird, I don't want to say they're aliens because I've got no idea what it's going to be about.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the trailer for No?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. They're keeping it a mystery.
But like you say, I don't want to dive into too much of like what a film could be just by a trailer. I mean, before I watched the last Tarantino film, I didn't know anything about it apart from Brad Pitt and DiCaprio were in it.
And the sort of vague link to the...
Even that I didn't know. I steered clear of it. So when kind of it starts to unveil itself during the film, I was like, oh shit, this is what this is about, like the Manson murders and all that. So I was just like, oh, I wonder if this was in the marketing, and it clearly is when you look back.
That was the you know, you'd see an article here and there like years and years before the film came out. It's like Tarantino interested in doing a Manson murders film, or Tarantino Manson murders film moves forward, and by the time it came out, it wasn't necessarily at all about that.
No.
But a future predictive time capsule. Whoa.
Are you going to see it on the first day or around?
I want to actually. I've just looked at my calendar earlier today. I thought it was back towards the end of the month, and I've got a free weekend, and that seems like a good way to spend a Friday night. Okay. Horror film, cinema, big gulp.
Oh, why not? Even bigger popcorn.
Tango Ice Blast.
Yeah, I think I'm going to see it in a couple of weeks too. So maybe I can come back and see if actually this is going to stick around, because you've got it in there now. It's got to be in there. Even if you hated it, it's got to be in there.
True, very true. Nick, do you have a time capsule drop?
So I tried to think of a few things that I'd want to put in, and really just for anything that's just really pertinent. It's kind of this game that we're about to talk about and this run as well. You and I kind of, when the final had happened, we've been talking about it and a bit in the build up too, and we kind of said we should probably do something. I was thinking of maybe recording a message to kind of say what an achievement it was and all that, and it actually felt like, well, actually we should probably pay the respect that it's due, because this is such a unique thing. Yeah. And actually going back and doing the research to this, and this is the closest we've ever got to a release day while recording as well, because we like to do it a lot further in advance. So
that's true.
We're not very current.
No, we're flying by the seat of our pants here.
But kind of doing the research in it and kind of watching a lot of it back as well, as much as I can. It's kind of been like discovering a new band or something. You kind of see like the characters and the little themes around it and the subplots and what everyone's had to come through. And you just kind of, when I'm into like a new band or a TV show or something new, I kind of just want to devour it all and just get into it and go, right, what about this? What's this catalog? Right, that's a good album. That's a good album. And we get a big playlist and listen to it nonstop.
I've definitely got that feeling as well. Watching and then rewatching the game. And you're looking at the players and you're thinking, oh, she seems like a character, they seem like a character, what's their backstory? You look into it and invariably it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And obviously, like with a good TV show or a band, there's a future to look forward to as well.
Yeah.
It's not over.
No.
You know, this could merely be the start.
I think as well, it's wanting to be part of the story and the journey that you go on to get here. Because like you say, we've come to this in a place of wanting to know and wanting to learn and understand. Without, I've followed women's football kind of vaguely before, but never to the point of, because I think I kind of have too much sport in my life at points anyway, because it's like I can't honestly say to my partner, right, I'm going to sit down and watch this now, because it's like, well, I'm already getting there with club football. We do this, and we kind of have an incline to do it with England, and actually even watching old England games. I've got it with 3 different formats of cricket internationally. I've got the club cricket as well, which I'm getting into
You've
more.
got the WWE.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, I can't really like dedicate myself to this. But because you go on a journey with people to get to points like this, you want to be part of that story as well. Like if you followed, I think maybe next week we'll be talking about England's 2010 World Cup win in cricket. You kind of want to go on that story because you know all the people and you feel kind of like a sense of, well, we've done that because I've been watching for so long, even though we have no contribution to it whatsoever. It's still an us about it. And this, without a doubt, is something where people have gone along. I mean, you saw celebrations after the win. So many people there have been on that story and that journey for so long. I was listening to the Athletics Football podcast about it, and they were talking about when they've been playing and first covering women's football in like the late 90s.
Yeah.
And it was on before like men's celebrity charity games.
Yeah.
And it's like, could you imagine of something that low to the ground to where it is now?
Yeah. I can understand that just over time it hasn't had the same commercial appeal and therefore the same funding and money. But like, yeah, to be treated so like disparagingly must have been really hard, but this win, it just feels like the culmination of a lot of hard work. And yeah, as you said, we're here to kind of learn, I guess, today, and maybe going forward, because it's not something we've paid attention to on the podcast. And again, same reasons as you. I can't really get away with squeezing more sport in. I'm trying to get into cricket or rugby or something like that.
Oh, come on. Cricket's got to be better than rugby with that. Come on.
Wow.
I did watch Rugby Sevens the other day. We in the Commonwealth, and I was like, wow, this is actually really like quite fun. It's more one-on-one instead of just this slab of men across the pitch, really.
The only kind of exposure I'd had to women's football, really, other than hearing the odd story, because I think there was a tournament where it felt like a precursor to this one. I think it was the most recent World Cup,
2019,
America.
I think it was.
And,
yes,
and like by that point, it was almost the hype train was just building. So I was not quite ready to break out my shirt and iron it, but ready to at least watch with some interest. And it was a good game. But anyway, the only other experience I had, and this is second-hand experience as well, but there's a player called Rachel Unit. Have you ever heard of Rachel Unit?
I feel like I recognise the name, yeah.
Well, she's born in Walsall and used to play for Wolves women and England. She actually made 102 appearances for England in between 2000 and 2013. Now, my friend has a story of, because again, coming from Walsall, and it's not like as a women's footballer you're a huge celebrity in that time, like late 90s, early 2000s. She would just go over the park in Bentley, and he was like, I thought I was good at football, but she was absolutely incredible. Like, and it's like, it's crazy. But
imagine that, a professional being better than a randomer at football.
Yeah. So even through to today, if I think about women's football, and to have somebody, and then you look at that CV, 102 appearances for England, and you're like, yeah, a local legend who smashed it for England. So there was always that, but I think she kind of retired 2013 from international football, which is nearly a decade ago now, and I've again only really just switched on to women's football, so I didn't see the best of her, but I'm imagining that she's held in some high regard. Yeah,
I would imagine so, and yeah, this is kind of like you say, with all the people who have gone before, which we'll touch on as well. There seems like a really good network of the women and the team behind them as well that have put this team forward.
Yeah,
and they are still actually in touch. A lot of them, like you get that kind of personal touch that you really don't see in like what you consider on the men's side, where it's just they've all got their little cliques, and we didn't get on with him, so he's not part of this, or those people. There just felt like a sense of we're in this together, really.
There was a common cause that they were all fighting for, I guess. Rather than just winning the games, it was, if we win the game and we win the match and we win the tournament, then the sport is elevated, then all of us are elevated, then future generations are elevated.
Exactly.
Well, the next part of the podcast is called Why This Game, and I think we've kind of already covered that.
Yeah.
You have put on our notes that this is, I just want this on record for the listener. Nick reckons this is the only time we will likely ever do an emergency podcast to celebrate an England tournament win. Now, don't try and be down on the men's team just because the women's team. Don't be sucking up to the women's team.
No, prove me wrong. Come on, Harry Kane, all of you, like, prove me wrong. Make us on like the Sunday when the World Cup final is at whatever time.
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day. Make us come into the studio and do a bleary-eyed. Whoa, come on! Like, we've given ourselves a bit of breathing room here as we were both watching the game.
I was a bit bleary-eyed on Monday morning. Actually, did you go out for the game?
Yeah, we went out into central Birmingham at the kind of the Kong Park and had a few beers there. But it wasn't anything too rapturous, actually.
The Kong Park.
Yeah, I love the Kong. You got to love that in central Birmingham. And we should actually just very quickly say there could be a bit of background noise today because usually it's the seagulls who are obviously wanting to get in and get a listen. But actually, we are in central Birmingham. The Commonwealth Games are going on at the moment. There are some interesting live music acts that are going on to support the Commonwealth Games in Central Park. So it's more of a jubilous celebration in the background. So
yeah,
bit of atmosphere music.
Everyone's still riding high on the Euros win as well.
Yeah.
So the only time we'll ever likely do an emergency podcast, not so sure about that. Let's live in hope. And I'm really excited to see that we have a really short state of football to go through.
Yeah, very short, because we're going to cover a lot of around the journey through the Euros and everything like that. So all we wanted to kind of say is, as people were listening to this today on the Saturday as they're going, they could be going on the way to the start of a Premier League game or a Football League game or whatever. So really, it's just football's kind of become club football on a larger scale is coming back soon, really, which seems so weird.
Yeah.
Straight after a tournament's finished.
Straight after a tournament's finished, and with the World Cup to come in December.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. I can't even think about putting that together, really, can you?
No. Oh, but that's it. Let's have a look at the build-up.
Yeah.
So we'll start then with England's journey to the final. England were drawn in a group containing Norway, Northern Ireland and Austria, who they opened the tournament against at Old Trafford. And it only took 16 minutes for Beth Mead to give England the lead. It was a positive, however. This was the only goal of the game. England did struggle to break through again, missing two quite big chances in the first half. But for Beth Mead, this was her 15th goal in just 15 appearances since making a debut in 2021. So absolutely stonking figures.
Yeah, amazing rise to the national side as well. Beth Mead traditionally in this England team has played on the right-hand side as well, so kind of seen as a bit of a wide poacher maybe from what I've kind of seen her in the games as well. She's always a goal threat. She plays off White, who's seen as a bit as a target player as well, and yeah, just a really impressive footballer.
Well, 15 goals in 15 games at international level. I don't know if Kane or Rooney or anyone like that got close to that.
No, in terms of like a running start either, do you? I mean, England go into this tournament as one of the favourites. Clearly, this tournament was held in England as well. It kind of felt that the last Euros were as well for the men's side because they basically bought all the games.
Yeah.
This was this is being hosted in England. This is where they're one of the favourites. You look at other sides like Germany, who we'll get to in a little while.
We have no choice.
Yeah, exactly. And other sides, I mean, the last tournament, the Netherlands won. That previous European Championships, their manager switching over to manage England as well. I think it would have been about a year or so ago, maybe a bit more, because I know she took over from Phil Neville, didn't she?
Yeah,
which is crazy again to think.
Bloody hell!
I did see ahead of the final, he was interviewed and he was like, "I'm very proud of them." And I was like, "I don't think it ended well for you, like Phil, really."
England's second game of the tournament was a bit more straightforward. With an 8-0 win over Norway. Beth Mead scored a hat-trick in this game, putting her on 4 goals in the first 2 fixtures. She struck again in a 5-0 win over Northern Ireland. So England have scored, about 14 goals in the group stage.
3 games.
Yeah.
You can tell who's the dominant side in the group, really, can't you?
It was all about the second half, really, for England against Northern Ireland. I mean, they scored right sort of on half-time for the first one, and quickly again. They brought on the subs at half-time, who we'll get into a bit later, who really contributed. Alicia Russo scored 2 of the goals. The second, a wonderful finish, and it's not the last of those that she would do in the tournament. Interestingly, the same team started against Northern Ireland as it had in the opening 2 games, even though it was a dead rubber, which is interesting, especially when you compare what Gareth Southgate. I don't want to keep comparing back throughout because this is its own thing, but it's interesting to note that Gareth Southgate has had, I think, 2 dead rubbers in the tournament now, because there was definitely the one against Belgium, and he completely changed the team.
I think for was it Czech Republic? I want to say
it wasn't quite a dead rubber, was it?
No, I think England still need to get at least a draw, and they'd probably be through after because they beat Croatia in the first one, didn't they? But yeah, this is seen as really is it going to be, should you give players the minutes to start them? And actually, instead of rotating the side, you keep the same team, because the idea is with this team, you want everyone to understand their own roles and how they're going to play. So the starting players start, and they will always start if fit, no matter what, because they believe in their own process and that they can win games. And if they need to change it, they can. However, they won't tailor themselves in terms of formation and approach to what the other team do. So we'll do little tweaks along the way, but personnel-wise, this is going to be who we do. And then the idea of you also bring on the same players to perform the same roles as a kind of a finisher of a game as well.
It's fascinating to me, that is. And I can't believe I've never considered it before. So like you say, you've got your starting, like get us through to say 60 minutes, your job's done. And then when the other team are tired, we have our finishers, and is there 5 subs in this tournament?
5 in normal time, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I think we could see it in the men's Premier League this year.
Well, there's 5 subs this year, isn't there?
Yeah, but I mean, that approach.
It would be interesting, but I guess there's so many games where the bigger teams just have the better players, and because they're going to have to keep playing. I think at club level, it's interesting because there's just rotations a more common thing. Maybe international football could go this way a bit further. I think in like the NFL and other sports as well, finishers are quite a steady thing, and that's more common. But in football, I've definitely not seen it as much, where a player is brought on for a substitute role, and no matter what, really, they're going to stay like that, and they're not going to really swap around much either.
I think it's more appealing to a player to know you're a finisher.
Yeah.
Rather than you may come on as a sub, or are you saying there's a level below that where, because there was a player in the squad who didn't play a minute?
There's a couple actually. There's the sub goalkeeper, and I think I want to say there was another 4 who didn't play a minute, and it was pretty much the same.
That's
4
squad depth
subs throughout.
I think it'd be more appealing for a player to be told you're going to get this time. Not, you're going to be a finisher. You're never going to start a game.
Unless someone gets injured.
So all things going well, that isn't on the cards for you. But you're going to have regular chances to really impact the game, as opposed to, shit, we're up against it. Can you jump on and help us out?
Yeah, and also the disappointment of being dropped.
Yeah.
Actually, instead of going, well, unless something like cataclysmic happens, this is the team we're going to stick with. This is the approach. And England were quite fortunate in the tournament not to pick up any injuries, because you do think, well, would they have, if White got injured, for example, would England have swapped out one of the finishers for White and then had to have created a new role for one of the other unused players, or would they have used the unused player and kept the finishers the same as they were? What's the answer to that?
I'm imagining it was well thought out by
the
England management team. But for us as outsiders, I think, it's interesting. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to answer it.
I think international-wise, this is maybe a more appealing thing, because at club level, if you were told, if this became a more widely done thing in football, you could maybe say, actually, this is your role, you're always going to be a sub. I think for 40, 50 games a season, that just wouldn't work. But international, you're part of a tournament and you're part of the team. This is your role here. I think that's a very interesting prospect.
You would also in like sort of club football in the Premier League, you'd get, okay, we know they're bringing on Haaland after 60 minutes, so we're going to bring on so and so. If they're not starting, not that Haaland would be a finisher. I mean, he could be, but whatever. But you'd just get both teams making 5 subs each at 60 minutes every week, and that would really change the whole ebb and flow of every game. But like you say, in international, I could see catching on, because it's a short period and it's all about the squad.
And it's got its pluses and minuses, as we'll get into as the tournament goes on. There's incredible pluses for what England do, but there's parts of it where you just go, is there too much of a plan maybe?
Yeah, there's definitely that to be considered as well. So ending the group as winners of the group, England would play the runner-up from Group B. And let's take a look at that group, and while we're at it, we'll, by nature, take a look at Germany, who are in Group B.
Yes, as always, we come to Germany, don't we?
Yes.
The German national side are one of the most successful in the sport. No surprises there.
I was going to say, wow.
Imagine if they'd been shit. Everything we know about German sport.
There's just something that they can't click here.
I know, yeah. I mean, they've won 2 World Cups as well as 8 out of 13 European Championships.
Wow.
Including 6 titles in a row between 1995 and 2013. That is numerous generations
That's domination
of football that they will just go, we do this at the Euros. This is our trophy.
Yeah, after such a long period of dominance, it was actually the European Championships in 2017, so the previous one to this, because this would have been delayed by a year, where that ended. They lost to Denmark in the quarterfinals, and it was their first exit from the tournament since 1993.
Since the Premier League began, essentially.
Oh my God.
That's so long we're looking back here. This is an unbelievable run for Germany, like we say, across generations and styles and evolutions.
That
and
must really knock your confidence.
Oh, if you're the first team to do it.
Yeah, and you must think, well, they probably don't because they're not English, they're German.
Yeah.
If it was England, they'd think, well, we're cursed now for another generation and maybe another couple more after that. We're getting what we deserve.
So with Germany out of the 2017 tournament, it was down to Wiegman and Netherlands to win their own host tournament as well. So
now this is a factor in all of this that's really interested me, because it's not like they've got Sven in.
Yeah.
It's not like they've got Capello in. It feels like a cricket or a rugby thing where they just go, this is they being England. Go, we'll just get the best.
Yeah, the
that's
best.
out there.
The best that can do this job and have a thought process behind it, and then change things to suit them.
And have proven it recently.
Yeah,
you know, Sven's a gamble, Capello's a gamble. It would be like England getting Pep.
Yes,
To manage them now, or Jurgen Klopp, somebody of that level. She seems really cool. Yeah. Obviously, she's really brilliant at the job. Is it tainted at all? Because I don't imagine England being so clinical. And should it not have been like we've got like the equivalent of Sven in, or I don't know. Does it taint it at all for you? Because very slightly taints it for me.
Because it's too thought out, you mean?
Yeah.
And it's not all happened by accident, which is what the only way that we are allowed to see that any success happens.
Exactly.
No, because it's been done right, and it's the way that things should be done, and it's the way that like I say, there is a thought process behind it as well, and getting the best there is in to do this kind of job for, essentially one of the favourites and a growing European and world power in the sport.
That's fair enough. Yeah. I like your reasoning for that. Back to Group B then. Germany, their group this time contained Finland, Denmark, and Spain, so they get a bit of opportunity for revenge there.
Yeah, and Germany got off to a flyer with a 4-0 win over Denmark, revenge, and just like putting a stamp on that of like, well, that's done.
So that curse is broken, pretty sharpish.
First game, they've got rid of the ghost. Like straight away.
Yeah, that is like what 90 minutes of hurt, just, and that's the game which are the one 4-0.
There's a couple of years where they've just gone, Denmark did knock us out for the first time since 1993. We were out of that tournament, but we've got one chance.
Yeah,
a couple of minutes in, just put them aside. Yeah, and they had goals from Magel, Schuler, Latterwein, and star centre forward Pop. So done.
Yeah,
and Germany also hit the woodwork 4 times in that game, so it wasn't like they started running away with it and kind of like rat the score up. They were dominant throughout.
No way. They would go in. Germany would then go on to sweep Spain aside in their second group game, with Pop collecting another goal in the process of a 2-0 win. At one point in the second half, Pop was through on goal and was brought down by the Spain captain, but no foul or card was given.
It was baffling watching this back, really. Utterly baffling. In the VAR age where everything is checked and no matter what, she is through on goal and the Spain captain just goes, yep, grabs her shirt and goes, you're going down, and then kind of herself goes, I best go down as well. And just nothing's given, because really that's a direct red card that could be Spain out of the tournament, really. And they were seen as the other really good team in Germany's group as well.
Pop collected her third in 3 games in the win over Finland in the final group game. Very much just on cruise control. Finland would finish bottom of that group. Germany topped the group, obviously, and Spain come second. They are England's opponents in the knockout stages. So England versus Spain then. This game was held at the Amex Stadium in Brighton. Obviously when we had, like you say, some games of Euro 2020, I loved it because I just liked having Wembley always there. But yeah, it just made me think of how much better that Euro 2020 would have been if it was fully held in England from start to finish. Versus Spain, it was, I guess, the first real big test of the tournament. And it wasn't going well. They fell behind to a goal from Gonzalez on 54 minutes, and it was down to the manager to change the game with her substitutes, as we've mentioned, the finishers. And do you want to run us through the impact that they had on the game?
Yeah, yeah. Wiegman rang in the changes, and while also bringing in the finishers, she was able to also put Millie Bright up front as well to kind of have a target to face there because she's probably, I think she's the tallest woman in the side. Obviously, incredible in the air as we'll get onto as we go on throughout the tournament too.
Yeah,
just an amazing defender and just giving Spain a bit of a different problem really. So they were able to mix it up, formation wise, stylistically, everything, and yeah. After that started on its way, the club teammates and substitute buddies Russo and Elatoon combined with just 6 minutes remaining and forced extra time.
Ooh.
Just about got there.
Just about. It's one of those where you look back, isn't it? And you just think...
So close.
So close.
I remember I watched some of this earlier and you kind of see when Spain take the lead, I think it's like 54 minutes, and you're just like, seen this before. This is bugger. We've got to try and make a change. Like they probably would have made changes at that point anyway, but... It's like we always say, this is a test now. This is how we're going to get to that next point, and they do, and they force extra time with that.
And in just 6 minutes of extra time, England take the lead. Georgia Stanway with an absolutely brilliant strike puts England ahead for the first time in the match. And what followed was a masterclass in time wasting and keeping the ball. England were through to the semi-final, and they would be travelling to Sheffield to play that game. On the other side of the coin as to what we just said, when it's like, oh yeah, we've seen them go behind now, we've seen this before. You come from behind and you're winning that, and you feel invincible.
Yeah, and it's a different test, isn't it? They've kind of rolled through the group pretty easily. I think they obviously struggled against Austria and only won 1-0, but that's a bit of a hindsight and maybe start and nerves. But that's one thing kind of ticked off if you're looking at achieving something is, you come back from behind to win a really tough game and do it in extra time, and then kind of kill the game as well entirely, and that's just tick. That's one off the list.
What we've learned from the Southgate era of the men's team is there are moments when it gets to the knockout stages that as soon as you pass them, you're kind of not scared anymore. Maybe it's because our fixtures have been quite kind to us, but as soon as we beat Colombia, I was like, well, what could be worse? Like, fair enough, I would have always preferred the side of the draw that we got, but after that, you're just like, soddy.
Yeah.
We've won a knockout game, let's win another couple, and we'll see where we are. When we beat Germany, that was a big, obviously, monkey off our back in one sense. But again, it's just like, soddy, it's knockout football now. Obviously, prior to that, we were just used to losses in every single one of those games. And this Spain game definitely feels like... I mean, they get through to the semi-final, so there isn't far to go for them.
Yeah.
But still, it's like, this is our tournament.
Yes, there's a feeling there of 6 minutes to go, again, a goal early in extra time. You just think, right, actually, there is something else that comes from this now, isn't there?
Absolutely. Germany faced Austria in the quarters, in their quarterfinals. If you remember, not too long ago, we were talking about quite a stubborn Austria side who England had scraped past in their first game. And they came out of the traps on fire and nearly took a lead over Germany.
Yeah. Austria could have been 2-0 up in 15 minutes. And actually, throughout the whole game, they hit the woodwork 3 times, Austria. So they really, really gave Germany some problems to kind of address.
A lot of woodwork in this tournament.
A lot of woodwork, isn't there? Yeah, for some reason, it's just the ball is attracted to it from these, at least to these teams we're covering today anyway.
McGull broke the deadlock, though, for Germany on 25 minutes and settled those nerves before Pop once again sealed their fate, and they are through to the semi-final.
I love the idea of McGull and Pop. It sounds like some 70s novelty act, doesn't it? It's like Alan Pace, Chaz and Dave, Hall and Oates, all that.
I've got to take umbrage at Chaz and Dave being called novelty.
How dare you?
How dare you? They are serious musicians.
Come on, you're not going to stick that old McGull and Pop record on, don't you?
Yeah. I totally agree. And I'd love to hear it. I'm sure they make great music.
Yeah.
England had Sweden in the final while Germany would play France. We'll look at... should we look at England's semi-final first?
Yeah. They go to Sheffield and will play Sweden, who again was seen as an upgrade on their previous opponents as well.
Right, so they're kind of growing into the tournament. England, sterner tests every step along the way.
Sterner tests, better opposition, more expectation of, is this where the ride ends?
Well, after that Spain game as well, just about scraping through.
Yeah, you'd say scraping through, probably deserving it. It was seen at the time that the Spain national manager had maybe made a couple of changes that they shouldn't have, and maybe you're thinking, okay, well, is that the reason England got through? But I think it was a determined performance, and then on to a side who really could keep the ball very well, and England would probably have to play on the break a bit more as well.
Yeah, England didn't actually get off to a great start either. The defence and the goalkeeper were very much, to be thanked for keeping them in the game. But yet again, Beth Mead scored with a great control and finished to put England in front at half time. And from there, the second half is a bit of a whoa. They doubled the lead from a corner from Lucy Bronze, and what followed was one of the moments of the tournament from Russo.
Kirby into Walsh. Lovely build-up. Walsh finding Kirby. Russo! Save by Linda! Oh! Wow! What was that?
The cheek! I mean, if that happened to me in training, I'd been straight over to Leslie Russo and absolutely having a go.
Wow.
Yeah, I've never seen a goal like that, I don't think.
No, not to just to be something that was so unexpected and so exciting as well when you were watching it. I watched this live and it was just like, again, wow, like that has happened. And it's the quick thinking, it's how quick it actually happens on the pitch, and no one else is prepared to even think about it apart from Russo herself.
Yeah, such a good goal. A bit of a dismissal in some quarters as bad goalkeeping.
Yeah, I mean, some would shout it from the rooftops that the keeper, Lindahl, made an error for the goal, but, Russo has her back to goal. She's 5 yards out, and Lindahl is just trying to be able to see the ball. I think we've got still on our notes here of just how little Lindahl can see because she's got a defender in front of her. Russo's back to her. It looks like she's just going to try and turn and get another shot away. She's just trying to see something, and to me, that's 10% keeper error and 500% amazing skill and ingenuity from Russo. And
Yeah.
Because if anyone hasn't seen it, I mean, where have you been? But the idea is that Russo backheels it. It goes so quickly that all Lindahl can do is kind of put her hands down vaguely, and it goes through her legs. But
Nobody would ever expect it.
no, it raised a bit of a point to me about the women's game in general. And I don't know what your opinion is on this either, but there was most of the universal praise for this. It was only if you looked in the deep, dark corners and the WhatsApps and all this kind of group and that where you actually see that there was any kind of dissent against actually that was an error. Because even in the coverage, they don't dissect the keeper to death on this. They don't kind of look into it too much and go, well, that's terrible. And to me, that's the more healthy and a better way of actually enjoying something like this in football.
I agree. Yeah, it takes all the enjoyment out of it if you try and pin a narrative on, like a negative narrative around the goal. I mean, it wouldn't benefit either side. England would be like, well, don't discredit one of our best goals, male or female team.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Sweden would be, I don't think Sweden would be too happy either, would they? Because they're saying that our keeper's shit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But if this was, I don't really want to kind of hark back to the men's and all that kind of stuff. But if that was a keeper in a big Premier League game or something like that, they would be ripped to shreds by the likes of, Lad Bible and Paddy Power and all these kind of people who just live and feed off like meme content.
Yeah. And we're talking about the state of football at the start, how much meme content has been around Haaland making one miss in the Charity Shield.
And Nunes like a couple of weeks previous as well. Like these people are just, I
think that's the worst thing in football.
Yeah, and look, none of us can say that we've never taken pleasure from whatever, because I did laugh at the Haaland bald memes, and you always see like when a manager loses a game that someone puts them through that fat app and they just look massive. Like Frank Lampard was the big one for that when he was at Chelsea, wasn't he? And look, none of us can say that we've not partaken in it and we don't find some of it funny, but you look at someone like Harry Maguire, whose career with England started as the player that all the fans kind of knew and wanted because he was the person who went to England away games and tournaments. Then he's there, they sing a song about him. And over the years, it just gets eroded away. And actually, now it's got to the point where England fans are booing him. Man United went on a club tour of Australia, and some Australian Man United fans were booing him as well when he's playing for their own club.
Bringing it back.
Yeah.
As you say, a much more positive. They didn't dissect it to death, and it was just a celebration of the goal and the skill involved, and that's surely better for everyone.
Has to be, absolutely has to be a much healthier way of enjoying this kind of stuff that's not ruined by these other outside means, really.
Fran Kirby would wrap it up for England with an absolutely brilliant chip after a fantastic through ball from Beth Mead. Not the last fantastic through ball that we'll talk about today, anyway. No. Lindahl, the keeper, was seen kind of being more at fault for this one, not getting her hands on the chip enough. A once great goalkeeper, really, with Chelsea manager Emma Haynes kind of moving her on from Chelsea fairly recently after she's kind of seen as not the force that she once was.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for her, but fortunately for us,
Yeah.
England won 4-0, and they're going into the final after smashing a team who were seen as equals, maybe.
Yeah, and I think as well, a game where they had to have, they had to kind of sit back and not have the ball for long periods and actually be dominated by the other side and kind of just hang in there and wait and take their chances. Beth Mead's goal is a brilliant goal, and she keeps contributing throughout. I mean, again, we look at Russo and the other players that keep doing it as well, but a different kind of test. You've got to just stay in the game at this point when you're not the best team, and then when you take your chances, you need to be brutal and you need to wipe the floor with the other team and actually not sit back, and the changes keep coming and you keep going, actually, this is still the plan. We're sticking to the plan and we will keep trying for this. And instead of bringing players off for just a rest or anything like that, the finishers are coming on because that's what they do.
Yeah, they've got to finish it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, well. Sweden, I'm sure they'll be back and stronger than ever.
Yeah.
Germany versus France, as we say, was the other semi-final. And guess what? Pop scored.
Yet again.
Germany would win 2-1. Pop scored both the goals to put Germany to the final, and in the process of that became the first female to score in 5 successive games in the tournament. She joined Beth Mead on 6 goals, each going into the final.
Yeah, just perfectly set up. The 2 best teams in the tournament, probably seen as the 2 best teams in Europe who make it. They've got the 2 top scorers. They've got some of the best players. Everything is just set, isn't it, for that sunny day at Wembley?
Yeah, so we're getting into the game then. England versus Germany, the Euro 2022 final at Wembley Stadium on Sunday, the 31st of July.
Exactly.
The teams
That's just
are
mental.
walking out. Listen to the roar. Thank you, Jonas, Alex, and Ian. Is history about to be made? Leah Williamson and her women to carve a place for themselves in football immortality.
Wembley is packed to the rafters.
It is 87,192, which is the official figure for fans to come and cheer on the Lionesses.
It's a higher attendance than England versus Italy.
It is, yes.
In the men's final.
I think there were still COVID rules that were in place, yeah, but this is the biggest attendance for any European Championships game ever and final, which is
incredible.
Which is kind of, it's like a marvel of, you know, where the finals have been held over the years and actually the capacity that you can fit in. But Wembley to do it as well.
It's obviously a contributor, and it's amazing to see. But it wasn't a huge. It wasn't like the most tickets have been sold for a women's football game and things like that. It was just the natural. What's the word I'm looking for? Momentum of the tournament and the groundswell of popularity for this team and the sport had just made it unstoppable and unquestionable that it wouldn't be packed.
And it's not like this is a marketing exercise where you say Stamford Bridge, for example, when they host a women's game, a lot of the tickets will be given away because they want people to get into the stadium and get into the sport, which is, you know, absolutely fine and, you know, all perfectly fine. But this is paying customers, people coming in and showing there's a demand for this as well. And along the way to the final, you see this as well. 7 of the 10 biggest attendances in women's Euros history took place at this tournament. So you had records broken out of the 10, Milton Keynes, Bramall Lane, Brighton twice, St Mary's and Old Trafford and today's game all are within the 10 biggest attendances ever for Euros games.
That's so incredible. And the atmosphere, well, we'll probably end up touching on that a bit more, but the atmosphere seemed pleasant.
Yes.
And like sports actually should be.
Yeah, I
don't mind an intense atmosphere
and a bit of an edge at times when it's appropriate.
Yeah, but not just as a basis. Everyone is fucked up and going to punch shit.
I mean, I remember watching that Euro 2020 final and just going, people are there at 9:00 and they've got like flamethrowers hanging out their arse and they're still already drinking and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, no one's going to enjoy that, surely. Even the people there aren't going to be able to enjoy that. So you think, what's the point of kind of staging yourself and doing it like that? Obviously, the atmosphere, and I don't really want to compare it in terms of the men's, in terms of, oh, well, men's football is bad, women's football is good, because there's room for both.
Yeah, of course.
But what you do see, actually, is that tickets were given to people who wanted to be there. Tickets were given, for the majority. Tickets went out to people as well at a reasonable price, and it weren't charged out the arse for them, and it was accessible to a lot of people. You know, not everyone in the world who wanted to go was there, but that's the same with any kind of sport on a high level with high demand.
Yeah, or any event really. I guess the nice atmosphere was summed up by the girl who went viral.
Oh, my heart broke when I was watching this, when we were watching it outside, and they were talking about, oh, well, you know, there was, because I'd seen her, like, we all know the little girl that was singing Sweet Caroline after the Sweden game, and she kind of went really viral, and all of a sudden, Gabby Logan's there in the studio with her, and she's like, well, we've got her here today with us, and she's got her headphones on, and I think she had face paint on, and the microphone talking into it, and she just seemed like the nicest child, and just in a weird way, like natural. Like, she didn't like freeze up just when they came to talk to her and didn't really know what to say. She was just so natural, of like a child you would just like talk to, like one of your friends' children or something, and you just go, wow, they just know exactly what they want to say, and they've got and it's like, I haven't really got any favourites, I love them all and all that. And then she was presented with Russo's shirt that she scored that goal with as well, and her face just kind of dropped in shock of like, oh my god, this is amazing. It clearly hadn't been really rehearsed beforehand. It felt natural, and she just got to speak, and it was just like, this is what sport can do for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get to the England lineup then. No changes from any of the other games in the tournament. No. England named the same starting 11 for every game, which is a first. Is that...
I think that's through every tournament, almost ever. Yeah. I don't think there's ever been a football tournament, you know, in living memory, let's say, because we've been back to the dark days of the 50s, where there probably is like...
Yeah.
Well, even that, we think of that Hungary team we covered, even they had to make changes through injury.
True.
And it's just like, well, we've got this bloke, he'll help.
Williamson had been played in a couple of pre-tournament games as a box-to-box player, but reverted back to centre-back for the start of the tournament, and everything seems to be working. Earps, in her first tournament as England's number one, had conceded 1 goal in the run-up to this game.
And been super impressive when I'd watched her in games as well. And in the final, I just thought her command of the box was brilliant. She came for everything. She didn't like shirk anything either. She was a Jordan Pickford-esque. But I was super, super impressed with her every time I watched her in the tournament.
I see a lot of similarities, and again, we'll get to them all, but the Pickford one as well. It's the shouting, leading, the command of the box and what have you. And I was really impressed in the final especially. The Germany lineup was massively impacted, so they didn't have the luxury of starting the same lineup as every other game because Pop has been injured.
Pop went pop.
Something went pop in the warm-up.
Basically she was named in the starting lineup and everything seemed fine, and then I remember seeing it on the coverage and BBC said, there is going to be a change, unfortunately, because Pop has come out. I think it was a muscle injury. Maybe she'd picked it up in the previous game because they had a really difficult game against France where they'd gone, I think they'd maybe gone behind, but they had really struggled. And from what I watched earlier, they had chances, France did as well. And it was a hard-fought game, and Pop kind of dragged them through it as well. So we get to the point now where their starting player, their star striker, their everything really at this point is injured, and it's
huge.
And she's replaced by Schürrle, who started the first game but hadn't played since, and she'd scored in the opening game too. And it had just all changed. And in a weird way, to me, this is actually quite England in terms of England would play a team, and their player goes down, and you go, right. Yeah. This is it. This is the chance that's happened to them. I was reminded of James Rodriguez before that Colombia game for the men's side, and it was just like, right, Rodriguez isn't going to play. Brilliant. This is our chance, actually. We've got the momentum with us, and can they take it with them? But the problem comes with that is that Germany have to alter how they play, which means that England...
Everything you've planned for.
It goes out the window, and you've got to solve a different problem instead.
Yeah. We're going to move on. We're going to march forward. The kits, just really focusing on the England women's kit. Germany, fine.
I think it's the same as the men's kit anyway.
Yeah. The England's women's kit is different to the men's, and I think it's lovely, and I'd love to see us wear it at the World Cup.
You'd love to see us men take something that women have got and really make their own and just go, that's ours now.
Well, it's just...
I know what you mean. It is beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. And you kind of go, you know what? Instead of bringing out yet another kit that's just going to be changed in 2 years' time, you've got something really lovely here. Why wouldn't you why wouldn't you kind of use that as well? But maybe you do want to keep it unique, but
Maybe.
But,
It's a
yeah.
lovely kit and a lovely set of anthems as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine. Nothing, nothing extraordinary, don't get me wrong, but lovely. And then we get...
you know what is extraordinary though?
I know what is extraordinary. The ball is brought out onto the pitch on a little car.
It's the little car!
It's the little car!
It's back!
It's back! Why did it ever go away?
I was cheered up so much when I saw that little car. Everyone when we were sat watching it was just like, the car's back, oh my
The
God.
crowd roar was insane for the little car. It was crazy.
It should have had its own entrance music, like the glass shatters and the car comes out.
Yeah, it was. It is a little legend, isn't it? The little car.
Yeah.
Over the years, I mean, it's just I think just do it all the time.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
could be a force for good.
yeah, it's better than just like a plinth.
Yeah.
I'm sick of the plinth.
Stupid plinth.
You're being
The
picked up.
people who make plinths are like, what have we done?
Oh, the plinth business is going out now, isn't it?
We've got it. Like they're just wastelands. These plinth factories.
We're going to get bomb reviewed by plinths.
We need to pivot into little cars.
Yeah, definitely. There's got to be a market for that. But then you look at like the World Cup. I mean, what the hell is that what's going to come out there? Because someone is going to make that happen, aren't they? Because this is a UEFA theme. Because I think I want to say it's Vauxhall that have done this.
Yeah.
No advertising for
Biggest
Vauxhall.
fans of Ashley Cole.
Yeah, obviously.
But you're talking about in
The World Cup in Qatar.
Qatar.
I mean, is this going to be like a drone with a whip on it or something? Like, what the hell is that going to be? It's going to be awful, whatever they come up with.
the more I think about that World Cup, the more I'm really...
I've got a friend who just said he isn't going to watch it. I mean, he's Irish, so his team aren't in it, but so he's able to take that stand of, well, this is just wrong, this isn't it. But there are people out there that say they're not going to watch it, which we're tied to this England team, aren't we? We will have to watch tournaments because that's just what we do.
Yeah, I'm thinking like the stadiums might be quite empty.
I think they'll be really empty. I think
Yeah.
it's going to look like COVID football again. I don't think it's going to look
Not
good
what you
at
want,
all.
is it? After COVID, you come out, the World Cup finally arrives, and then not because of COVID,
Yeah.
it looks like COVID football.
Yeah, just because of greed, essentially. And, we've done this before. We took it to Russia, for example, and they were able to host a tournament and do it really well. But I don't know. I just feel like the stadiums they built on the sides of them, I just can't see them being full.
Anyway, we have our commentators for the day, Rachel Brown-Finnis and Rachel Cohen. Two Rachels.
Yeah.
And let's get into the game.
Yeah.
Cagey start in the early stages. It feels as though, or at least it felt to me, like Germany are the team to beat. They certainly made it look that way, a bit more confident, perhaps. England were playing with a lot of heart, I thought, but a bit better on the ball, Germany, especially in those first few minutes. 3 minutes in, Frank Kirby, however, would deliver a lovely ball into Ellen White, whose header is well saved. So it's a good chance for England.
Good chance, good start. And it's one of those early sighters of like, right, we started now. This is here. It's almost like a kind of a boxer putting out a few early jabs. Just I'm here. Don't worry.
Oh, he knows he's here now.
Yeah. Now he knows he's here.
I'm kind of glad it didn't go in.
Yeah.
Early goal in the final.
Oh, yeah, too early. Lift off for England. Honestly, I'm just not going to celebrate when like England ever score in any game early now.
I can already see your face when that happens. Hands on the side. No.
No, what have we done? This isn't going to work. I know what you mean because we've got a theory about that, and the more we watch it, the more it happens.
The more it happens, it could have all been so different.
Yeah.
5 minutes in, so just a couple of minutes after that, Bronze whips in a cross. The keeper collects, and Ellen White is straight in there to try and push the ball and the keeper into the net, which was, I thought it was really hilarious. But an early sign that England don't have the "I'm here to take part" or "we're intimidated by Germany" mentality, despite their decades of success.
Yeah, we're here to win. This is going to be our game, and it's that old Graham Souness quote, isn't it? Of, do you want to fight or do you want to play football? Because if you want to fight, we'll win, and if you want to play football, we'll win. And it's that thing of, no matter what the situation, we've come through it all, and we're not going to be intimidated by the forever champions Germany. And yeah, I think as the half goes on, I think England do come out as the better of two teams. But yeah, it quickly becomes cagey, but it's high quality. It never feels like either team don't know what to do with the ball or they don't pick it up in good places and patterns. But with that as well, you look at, well, is it good defensive play? Is it good attacking? I think it's a bit of both, really. And just because lots of chances or goals come in games doesn't mean that, it's strewn with errors, but kind of errors make football fun. Like you don't want to go into like the late 80s with Serie A football where Milan won a league title with like 20 goals or something like that. Like, no one wants to watch that. Just because every goal scored you could maybe pick fault with, it doesn't mean that people are at fault for every goal.
Very well said. England do continue to lead in terms of creating nice spaces and half decent chances. As you say, both teams have the qualities, and it's really clear. To me, it felt like they were kind of playing with the occasion in mind as well. There's a real ebb and flow to the game anyway. Around 15 minutes in, Germany are back into it, and England seem to be waiting for that chance to break off it. I felt like I kind of sensed the tactics here where England were kind of countering. They're looking for counters.
Yeah.
But it's such an even game and literally nothing in it. England's pressing and fitness is fantastic when you consider it's the final of the tournament as well. They don't look like they've been affected by it at all.
And again, with that, maybe a lesser where you come into the idea of finishes and changing the team at a certain time always, you've got players out there who have played every single minute of the game, really, of every game they've played. Yeah. And maybe that's why your early players at start are fresher, because they're always going to have a set amount of time to go in there. But yeah, this is where the fitness comes into it, where you're able to just go, you're doing 60 or 70 minutes.
Yeah. Ellen White gets a yellow for dissent on 23 minutes. Do you think she was asking for a translator?
The version of ratting, is she?
Yeah. Now? Perhaps. On 25 minutes, there is a scramble.
Mary Earps' goal, but this has been a little dip in concentration for England. Made a couple of errors, rash decisions. They've got to settle themselves and defend this. One is flicked in, off the goal line. What a scramble. Earps grabs. Somehow England survive.
Scrambled eggs, baby. And England survive. I don't actually know how to explain this. There's a lot of touches. I think 7 touches, all from about 2 yards out. If you were to like the width and the length of this, you're talking not a very large space at all.
It's all through that kind of 6 yard area in the goal mouth almost, isn't it? It's the ultimate goal mouth scramble, really. And yeah, England just about get it away at this point.
I think Leah Williamson made a handball. I think, and I don't want to be a contrarian. I don't see how that wasn't given as a handball.
They don't really show it again, do they? I remember watching.
They show it a couple of times.
I don't think they show it a bit, but I don't think they ever give you like a full. I think because basically VAR doesn't give anything.
Yeah,
and they kind of carry on because you don't get the VAR. Right, can you pause it there? Next frame. I mean, we don't get to hear them say that, but you can almost hear them in the back and go, right, next frame, please. Right, do that. Really slow it down so we can really see it touching the hand so I can give it back as a different decision. I don't think we get that treatment, which is probably what we're just used to these days. But you don't see it too much. But in the German papers, they really pick up on it.
Yeah, I mean, the ball came in from the corner. I think there was a header, then there was a knee, then there was a save, then there was another knee, then there was I don't know, something like that. He said the German papers were kicking off.
Yeah, they really kick it off. They kind of saw it as, another dodgy decision at Wembley to deny us something. And it's kind of like, well, you know what, actually, in this first half, I don't think the referee has a really good grasp of the game. It seems that she's letting a lot of stuff go that she probably shouldn't. She maybe should be giving some people cautions or maybe even bookings a bit earlier than she should. I remember at the time watching going, this seems like not quite there. It seems that she's not quite got up to the tempo or she's not got a hold of the game yet. But a player like Oberdorf for Germany, in the build-up, a lot of it had been about she was a player that was more of a destroyer and would nullify England, and she and the rest of the German team, within their own rights, because they've got to have the referee to tell them where those lines are, kind of goes around the pitch and they do disrupt England quite a lot. And I don't think she's booked till really late on. I don't think the cards come out quick enough. But when they do come out, a lot of them do.
It's a big occasion for a referee as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
A final like this, yeah. On 27 minutes, I spot a Wolves flag behind the Germany goal.
Told you.
They're everywhere. The game has gone very scrappy by this point. A lot of fouls. And I think after nearly 30 minutes, both teams are absolutely the start. You can see that they're dreading making a mistake. It's like, okay, a little bit of adrenaline has probably died out. And it's just like, things can go wrong for us as well as just right, you know. So they've got to be really watching their defence and stuff and trying to take the chances when they do get them. We get a reference of Needle by Rachel Brown-Finnis on comms, referencing the history between these two sides. She then goes on to mention how little belief England had when the two met in a final in 2009, but say she sees a different mentality out there today.
Yeah, they'd England and Germany had met in the 2009 final, which was the last time that the women's team had got to a major final. Germany were 2-1 up going into the second half, and also found themselves 3-2 up towards the 60th minute, but it just kind of all falls apart for England after that. The rest of the game is a bit of a walkover for Germany, where maybe they were just chasing the game and chasing shadows and exhausted, but Germany ran out 6-2 winners that day. So there is, but again, you go to like 2-1 and 3-2, you're in the game there, and then a goal puts them 4-2 up. You just think that's another, England keep getting goals back in that game as well. So you think, okay, maybe one more, we're just closing them down. I guess it's like golf where like someone moves one ahead of you and then you get it back one ahead again, and it's just like that lead is just too much. And games like this, it always looks a lot worse when you just read 6-2.
Yeah.
But clearly England were in that game for a long time, and they're all of that's just been put to bed already. They're not. This is a different generation. They're not thinking about that really.
Yeah, the ghosts.
Yeah, and it's the context for the viewer of how far they've come. These two different sides, but to the players on the pitch, they won't be going, well, remember that 6-2?
Yeah, yes, it's right. Whereas you always felt like the men's team were thinking stuff like that, even if it hadn't happened to them.
So I remember Gaza.
Yeah, just sitting around reading the Sun, and just like, as we approach sort of half time, I would just like to say England's backline are so impressive. Stars of the team for me, is the backline.
I was mega impressed with them whenever I've watched them in the final, especially Brighton Williamson at centre back. You just feel like a beach ball could come onto the pitch at any point and they just head it out of the stadium, wouldn't you?
Whilst like controlling the ball and just getting ready to play a pass out of defence, they go, oh yeah, bang, beach ball's gone.
It is just everything, and you do see what England never really have a problem. I mean, they've only conceded one goal up to this point in this tournament as well. They never really have problems from set pieces. Sweden was talked about for a long time of they're the set piece specialist team, and they had a couple of half chances, but really from what you were expecting, England dealt with it so well, and also White creates a really good chance just before half time too. White sent Mead down the right and looked up and she saw that she had an option of White or Kirby to aim at. She chose White and she was leaning back as she struck the ball and it went over. You do feel like you put your Michael Cox glasses on and you stop and look at it and you go, well, actually, there's a person here on the outside that could be, you could look at that differently, and maybe you could pass it to Kirby, who's slightly more tightly marked, but maybe the better option in that attack.
I think that was the theme of the studio at halftime. Other than, come on, we got a second half to think about. It was we're doing quite a lot right.
Yeah.
But we're just a little bit off with the last pass or the last finish. Probably the better side than Germany, but for me, Germany should be 1-0 up.
Yeah, with that kind of scramble.
Pinball, it didn't happen, but that could easily have been a goal.
Yeah, that's the better opportunity of the two, isn't it? And as you say, it's as we went into half time, it's one of those games where you're just happy you've not conceded. You're a bit disappointed you've not scored, but you can't. Okay, let's even it up. Let's go and get a point. Let's come back. Let's just go outside for 5 minutes.
Like real quiz starts now.
Yeah, she's like, right, everyone calm down. We're all right. 15 minutes where you just chill out and you just don't think of it.
And then the players come out.
And it's like, oh God, it's started again.
Yeah. Oh God. Okay, we're back into it then, into the second half, and there are a group of chances actually straight after half-time. Vasmuth has a great run after finding space behind the England defence, but the shot is quite poor, straight into the hands of Earps. Once again, I think Germany are making the better chances, whereas England kind of maybe have more half chances, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But 2 minutes later, Magull gets the ball to feet in England's penalty area after some nice play, and the shot is just wide. The commentator said she snatched it a slightly cleaner connection, and it would have been 1-0 to Germany. Yeah,
England don't start this half really well at all, do they? They kind of come out sluggish and not really with their heads on. And with the Magull chance, she can't quite get it out of her feet well enough to get the shot away well, but also it's too close to her body for an England player to actually dive in and try and take it off her as well. So everyone's kind of like, it's just half getting towards it, can't do much.
And I think, without sounding big-headed, I think this is kind of the point of this podcast, not this episode in particular, but in general. We all remember the big moments, but moments like that, I've completely forgotten about who's ever going to talk about this game and go, remember that snatch chance or the
Yeah.
scuffle, the pinball thing either.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
They all happened and everything could have been so different.
Yeah, definitely.
She can't quite get it out of her feet well enough, and it's kind of worrying times for England though because they made a few good chances. Germany have, so they start to warm the subs up.
Yeah,
already
the finishers.
The finishers, Alicia Russo and Ella Toon, are getting themselves ready. I think the manager's thinking we need to take control of this game back. The commentators are also noting that Germany are looking to get England players booked and get into the head, so the dark arts are starting to come out now.
So this is where you do see the referee actually start booking people, but sometimes when a game's been, a lot has happened in the game and actually there's been a lot of fouls and maybe could be, almost a yellow card, you do actually see players sometimes get booked and they go, I've only had one.
Yeah.
And it's not even that bad of a tackle, but sometimes a referee gives some cards to players when they just go, well, there's a lot going on now. This is more of a marker
For everyone else.
to everybody else to go, well, I know you've been booked. It's probably not just you, but there's a lot else that's going on. And
That's fair, isn't it?
Yeah.
Germany aren't quite there. They're starting to try and get in their heads. The tackles are flying. England do bring on a couple of subs on 56 minutes.
yeah, it's the duo of Russo and Toon come on for White and Kirby on 56 minutes. As we said, throughout the tournament, these finishes have been brought on. And it's not really something we're used to seeing, but I'm thrilled by the idea of this. And you do feel like then the game, as with any time this changes, it changes the game and we're into a new phase of it, really.
We certainly are into a new phase of this final.
All superstars, we relied on one or two superstars. Oh, and the tune is through here, and the tune for England! Oh, yes! What a goal! We have liftoff!
Oh man!
Wow.
I know. Take a moment. The commentaries. Oh yes, that's what you want, isn't it?
Just amazing.
England literally have liftoff.
Yes, this is one of those moments, and it's maybe even said in the commentary of like lift off for England
Yeah.
or something like that. And it's one of those times where you're like, I know we say it a lot on this podcast, but I was just delighted with that. And to do it in such an incredible style.
Oh my god!
As
All-time classic England goal.
Yeah, at 100%. One of the best goals we've seen since doing this.
On the podcast, yeah.
Off the top of my head, I can't really think of a better England goal we've seen. I mean, you think of some of the classics of, I don't know, Owen against Argentina or something like that, and certain ones you remember always. But
No, I don't think there is one.
for technique
Yeah.
all over the pitch, for the two players who were involved in it from the England side, that is just a shock to people who say, well, actually, the level's not that good for women's football. That is on another level of anything we've seen so far, and we've covered every period of England almost.
And it's a simple goal, but simplicity and the skill is. But it's like a dish at a fine dining restaurant, isn't it? It's like just simple ingredients done well.
Someone's been to a Michelin star restaurant in the last
Hey,
week.
come on! I was just using it as a metaphor.
It's like when I was out the other week and I was just saying.
Walsh played an absolute worldie of a pass from inside our own half, taking out the entire Germany squad.
Even the bench was just like, well, we're at the game.
And sent Toon racing through on goal. She's literally just behind the defenders, behind the last defenders. She got just the keeper to beat, but there is still a lot of work to do, especially a lot of composure. And you're thinking, okay, bottom right, bottom left, through the legs, and she just chips. She chips. She chips so perfectly. It's a type of goal that just not just ignites a final, but just ignites the imagination of every football fan.
Yeah, definitely. And if you were to do that, if you're on like playing Pro or FIFA, and you tried that, and someone would just be like, "Oh, sod off!"
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Well, that's something that happens to you with like some like 12-year-old kid does it, and you're just like, "Sod this! I'm not playing." Because to do that is just on another level.
The influence is something that we'll definitely talk about probably towards the back end going forward of this game, like on future generations. But imagine being a young girl and watching this and seeing that, because it's okay England winning the tournament and that being inspirational, but if you don't have that moment which lifts you out of your seat on a sporting level,
Yeah.
it's kind of a different experience. So the moment for me of getting into football was literally was Michael Owen's goal against Argentina.
Yeah.
I can still just remember it so vividly, and that made me want to go out and play the next day.
And go out onto the playground or the schoolyard and just go, right, I'm Michael Owen.
I'm Michael Owen.
Whatever. And you go, well, actually, I'm Toon.
Yeah,
And to go out there and to see someone do that and to try and replicate that skill is going to make you think about it so much more. But like you said,
Do you want to talk about the goal as well? Your turn to gush.
Goodness me, yes. The pass from Walsh, first of all, was out of this world. If that's mentioned kind of anywhere else, if that pass is made by anybody else in any film of football, we're talking about that for a year.
Yeah.
We really are. And to receive it so deep, pick out Toon's run so perfectly and to put it straight into her path. It's not like she's then taken a touch and then done something else with it. I think she maybe takes one touch and then there's the finish for it as well.
There is a touch.
Because the ball runs so perfectly and it's almost going onto like the circle outside of the goalkeeper's area.
Yeah.
So the weight of it is perfect. And like I've already said, I can't say enough about the run and the finish. Toon took her time with it as well, and she saw the keeper was, coming out, and she was out a couple of yards. From our stills we've got here, you can see actually she's only a couple of yards outside of a 6-yard area, but she starts right on the edge of it, so she's probably only come out a couple of yards, and she's just given herself the time to just hold it and go, right, I'm going to do something with this now. Like you say, is she going to give her the eyes and try and place it into one of the corners or rifle it in somewhere? And by the time of just giving herself that bit of time and composure, and even letting the German player come next to her, she then puts it in the only spot by that time. She's left herself with one choice, and she just puts it and executes it perfectly.
Difficult option as well, really.
And if that doesn't go in, everyone goes, oh, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this? The confidence and the balls on you to do that is brilliant. And as well, she'd have noticed. So in the Germany-Spain game, the German keeper, there was a similar opportunity in that as well. And the German keeper ran out, and Lucia Garcia, amazing name, number one.
Lucia Garcia.
Yeah, she ran out and rounded the goalkeeper, and it made her kind of put it wide and put it into the side netting. So Toon would have known about this. They'd have spoken about if you get a one-on-one, you've got to do something because she's going to want to put you wide to really make sure that the Germany defence then have the opportunity to come back.
Do you think the long pass and... the long pass was a play that the planned, or it just kind of appeared in that moment?
I think it must have been because...
They don't try it much other than that.
They don't know, but I guess how many times would have someone... I guess Toon's not long come on. Maybe it wasn't... I don't think it was White's job to make those movements because maybe they're slightly different players. So when you enter a game of, it's 60-some-odd minutes, we maybe there's a bit more space for us to work into. And really, one of the great goals in finals, and I don't think a lot has been made about the goal itself because of the euphoria that's followed, because of what's happened.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not been talked about a lot, and maybe that happens sometimes to brilliant goals in finals when either they're not the winning goal or they're like a goal that actually hasn't mattered.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's great examples. I think the one I would pick would be the Mandzukic goal. Probably the Mandzukic goal in the Champions League final when Ronaldo smashed for Real Madrid. One of the best goals I've ever seen, definitely, and probably on a par with Ronaldo's bicycle kick, which wasn't in the final, but Bale's as well. But that was like wasn't that like with the 4-0 down, and it was like...
I think that went back to an equaliser for Mandzukic. So it was an important goal, but who the hell ever talks about that?
Yeah.
But in comparison, you've got Zidane's goal in 2002, iconic because it was the winning goal and it was incredible. Gareth Bale's as well. I'm pretty sure that pretty much won it for Real Madrid. I think that
made it 2-1.
Yes, well, I think it either won it or it put them in the position to win it. It wasn't the opening goal, was it? So it
No.
So it
I'm
did
pretty
that.
sure it was 2-1 because the 1-3-1 and his last one was like a spill from Karius, and it's like he's mentally beaten him.
Yeah, because he's already done that. And the other one I thought of as well was Crespo's in 2005 in the Liverpool comeback. So I think it may have even been to put them 3-0 up, and Kaká just sells one of the Liverpool players for a dummy and plays one of the most obnoxious passes I've ever seen, and he puts it right into the front path of Crespo, who just kind of the outside of his foot just places it past Dudek. But I bet you don't know what that goal looks like because no one will ever remember that goal. And it's just like, is this one here as well? It's so good, and because of the goal that comes later, that's the memorable one because there's so much more context around it and there's more purpose around it.
Absolutely. Are we finished with the goal?
Yeah, I think we've done it
But
justice, if I'm honest.
Never truly finished.
Never.
Not long after the goal, Mead, England's hero for the tournament up until this point, was brought off. Seen as a victim of some of the rougher behaviour in the game and not enough protection from the referee, maybe.
Yeah, she comes off injured for Kelly. And interesting that if Mead was able to stay on, we may not have seen Kelly enter the pitch till a lot later, which is quite interesting. Would that have changed how England would have played? Would it just been any different? Kelly again seen as one of the finishers later on, not one of the first rung finishers, but still with her role within the team. She's kind of brought on earlier than maybe she's used to as well.
Well, let's crash back down to reality just a little bit, because on 65 minutes, Germany did hit the post. It was a nice breakaway and a really good shot from McGull, but it bounced off the bar and out to Schuller, who couldn't connect cleanly. And it was a let-off, especially the connection. It was always going to be a challenge to hitting the rebound, I think, even with quite a clean shot, but hit the flipping post, man.
I know. Well, it's the post first, and you're like, actually, does the goalkeeper get anything onto it? I don't think you ever really find out if someone does, but it just happens so quickly. And like you say, it falls to Schuller, who just kind of, it doesn't really do enough with it because it comes to her so quickly. But you do just think, had that come to pop and Schuller was the player that came in for her, that's a big let-off really in two ways.
And there's another let-off not long after that, a great ball across the box for Sydney Lohmann that she just can't reach. How much are Germany missing the finishing touch of their top scorer?
Exquisite first touch from Lohmann, fired into her. Second and third weren't bad either. Can she work the opening? Here's Vasmut. Along the face of goal and in! Equaliser for Germany! And no surprise, it's Lina Magol who strikes. She's been the most threatening. Well-worked goal, 1-1.
Not that much.
Yeah, doesn't really matter, does it?
They definitely are, but they're back in.
Yeah.
1-1. England have been holding on a little now. We're so giddy, and then Germany are like, we're still here, definitely.
Yeah.
And for me, Germany do deserve a goal. A great finish from Lina Magul, who's played so well, really. A near post run, one touch to control the pass, and then a high finish past the keeper. Now, this is a test.
This is a test, yeah. This is a test, as our Graham Taylor would say. It really is. And I think you can kind of look at the breakdown of this goal as well. The problem here is when Williamson is beaten to the ball twice in the build-up. First by Lohmann when it's out wide and she's a bit stretched and can't get back in there. But then they regroup, but England are never quite back in that good defensive shape again. And then also she's left with two people in her area as well she's got to deal with in the final stage of the goal. And none of the England midfielders have shuffled back to help with the defence. And there's a little overload, probably due to the tiredness and exhaustion that the England players have got. And meaning Williamson leaves McGull to deal with Wasmuth, and McGull is in the space for the cross. And that's the big thing. It's
nice movement.
It is nice movement, but it's kind of like, and again, I don't think Williamson is exactly, oh, well, it's her fault, how could she do this? But it's more like, it's those seconds where you just think, right, what's the most dangerous thing? She's the most dangerous thing. I've got to go and deal with her.
Yeah.
I've left the person behind me, and my partner can't come over and cover it either. It's harsh, but it's like an incredible goal, really, in a small period.
Post-goal, let's move past that.
Yeah.
Post-goal, the game settles down into its previous rhythm of not really actually having a rhythm.
Yeah.
It's like somebody who can't play the drums. It's kind of a stop-starty all the time. To be fair, it's just a really well-fought, fair contest.
Yeah, England prepared for extra time by bringing on Scott and Greenwood for Stanway and Daly. Jill Scott had played in the 2009 final and is unsurprisingly the only member left of the squad who played that day.
That's so crazy. What a legend.
Yeah, well, I think she's 37 around this time as well, so she's kind of been there and done it all, and now is, again, performing a finisher's role for England with coming on and bringing a bit of experience to the side. Yeah,
she's one of the famous five, I guess. The same 5 subs have been made in the Norway, Spain and Sweden games by Wiegman, Russo, Toon, Kelly, Scott and Greenwood. The first 5 subs.
Yeah, and we've kind of said there's a plus and a minus to the finishes, which we'll get into a second. But the only problem is, at this point, England have kind of surrendered the game to Germany.
Yeah.
And it probably happened just before the goal, but you never realise, again, it's that analogy of you never know you're in a storm until you're in it, and it's on you. And that is very England in general. When it's happening and you're winning, you're going game management, not making mistakes, nullifying the other side, and you're doing all the positive things. And then when it doesn't work, you've lost control of the game, you're not doing what you were doing before. And just little moments like that can just totally change something, which I do think is very England with that.
You'd hope that bringing on somebody like Jill Scott would be a way of getting that control back. Experienced players, sometimes they'll lose pace or what have you over years, but the knowledge and understanding of the game. But then again, is this uncharted territory?
And as well, I guess that England haven't been in this situation in a game before, where they're actually holding on because they've either finished the game by now or they've... I guess in the Spain game they were holding on, but they had less time to do so, and it was less pressure because it's the final.
Yeah.
And then you go, actually, they've not been in the possession of, right, we've got to go again, and we've got to now try and take the lead again. So are the players that are coming on, do they have the experience like a Jill Scott do you have the ability within this format to just keep the ball and to just be calm, and actually a finisher's not been brought on to do this yet. So if you've not invented a role for someone...
Yeah. Say you bring your finishers on after 60 minutes, but the game goes to extra time. They're playing 60 minutes. They may as well be starters.
Yeah, and with your other starters, exactly. And you do just think, for me, Scott at this point, I think she does some great things we're going to come on to in a minute. I don't know if it quite worked bringing Jill Scott on, if I'm honest. I think the game slightly moved around her because there was a lot of mobile Germany players that were on, and she came on to do a different job and maybe nullify some of the players, but you do feel like at times she's getting played through as the game goes on, and maybe there was an idea of, have we stuck to the plan too much?
Well, the game plan has worked somewhat, but we are essentially back to square one.
We are, yeah.
Because we're going to extra time.
We are indeed.
Both teams are level as the full-time whistle goes. Bloody hell. When you were out with people watching this,
yeah,
did you go... Is anyone thinking of penalties at this point? And then somebody would go, "Oh no, shut up!
Don't you say that? No. Don't say that round here. Not in this place. King Kong's right there. He won't be happy."
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
I was preparing myself for the worst as well, though. Really, I thought either penalties or Germany will take it at this point.
Sneaking it in there, yeah. We carry, and we probably shouldn't carry so much years of expectation and disappointment with that, because this is a different team. And actually, I don't want to say just to be smart after the event and when you can watch it, it felt like they'd given control to Germany, but there was elements of like, God, they just camped in the box and it's only Brighton Williamson just heading the ball away, and it was a part of England. It was like kind of England by association, but it wasn't quite this.
They didn't look beaten. They didn't look like we threw it away, didn't we?
Yeah.
As the game was over. It didn't look like that.
No.
Let's get into it then. Extra time. The first half, more of the same, really.
Yeah.
Fitness levels are still high, but the mental toll of this game is huge. Both teams appear to be just a little short of the confidence needed to take risks to create goals, which is probably a sensible strategy. 30 minutes is a long time. You don't want to come out or, start in extra time. It's very rare, isn't it? Somebody comes straight out of extra time and just starts banging in the goals.
I don't think it ever happens, really. Not in today's game, or because there's so much riding on finals, and you rarely get a final that's actually a good final anymore either. Everyone's just so petrified of losing and what might happen that even in extra time, how many times you see a game won in extra time these days? It is very rare, especially when you had like golden goal, which was designed for making teams attack. So if you scored that goal, you were through. But what that did actually was make teams go, well, fuck, if we concede, we're out.
Yeah.
So it just totally changed everything. Silver goal didn't work. So it's just like, well, we've got to have extra time, because going straight to penalties, for me, that is too harsh. And there could be so many other things that happen in the game.
Honestly, just back on the defence, England's defence for a bit here. There's a 2-minute period, 96 and 97 minutes. The defence is just ridiculous. They're so intelligent, committed and calm. It's brilliant. They're just snuffing everything out. They're dealing with it. They're a unit. And I actually think about 10 minutes into this first half of extra time, I think England defence has got into the heads of Germany. If anyone looks like they're beaten, it's kind of Germany.
Running out of ideas, maybe, because they've...
Exactly.
I guess the plan that they have has worked to a certain point, but without that one bit of quality from Pop, then you kind of think... is it going to come? And if it is actually Germany throwing everything they've got at England and the defence are able to deal with it, there's not really many chances they make. I mean, it just kind of goes by not without notice, but it kind of just happens, doesn't it? This period, and it's like, okay, on to the second one almost.
There is an iconic moment from that first half, 105 minutes in.
Go on.
Does the words "fuck off, you fucking prick" mean anything to you?
Oh yes, of course it does. Jill Scott's greatest contribution to this game, obviously.
Yeah, you love it. It's one of those things that's right. I'll back to comparing men's football again. I'm sorry that we do this, but it's one of those things like Pickford going on about like get the rave on and stuff like that, where you see just a bit of personality and just like it's fight as well, man. It's really, that's what it is. It's like, I don't know, just being yourself. And if you're angry in that moment, be angry in that moment, but don't be like in awe of other teams.
No,
because of the occasion.
And that is where actually Jill Scott does come on and does do something really good in terms of, and I know I don't mean to degrade in terms of like, oh, she comes on and just swears, because that's not what it is at all. The job that she actually does of nullifying leading and a belief and a kind of that thing of like, right, come on, you don't sit on the floor if you get fouled, you stand up, you do this, and you've got another leader on the pitch at that point.
Classic.
Amazing. And I mean, I've seen that quote on Twitter and stuff now on like, you know, like inspirational ones with like there's a background, it's got like a picture of her faded in the background, and it's just got those letters on there, and it's just incredible.
That is the half. And at this stage, we are all surely thinking about penalties now, right? Are the nerves getting to you, Germany?
It was about a week ago that happened. It is Hemp, and it is deep. Oh, it's in! Chloe Kelly! Unreal scenes! England lead in extra time! The fairy tale fixture might just produce the fairy tale result for England!
Wow. I remember 1999, Bradley Chastain, knee slide, sports bra, iconic moment. Could this be it? We said one last chance, carved it open, and it wasn't the first base, but how Chloe Kelly holds off a player, uses her body exceptionally to let the ball run across her. See here, first contact, Lucy Bronze shoulders off a player. She's alive, keeps her balance, Chloe Kelly. Missed it on the first one, the rebound, and pokes it home.
Chloe Kelly's first international goal, and it has come in extra time at Wembley in the final against Germany. Not a bad time to score it.
They have.
They've bottled it. Ah!
Come on.
So, right.
Yes.
The scenes, man. England are winning 2-1. It's a deep corner, knocked back towards the goal, and Chloe Kelly swings a leg to try and reach the ball. She misses it, but she uses her strength to hold off the German defender, and as the ball rebounds back ever so slightly towards her, she just sticks out the leg to poke it home. It's in, the sports bra is out, and the nation has a new hero with 10 minutes to go. That celebration is so powerful.
Yeah.
You know, the reasons are obvious and not really for us to say.
Exactly.
But it's what makes it emotional.
Yeah.
And really at that point, if England would have lost this game, because I watched it with a group of 4 girls, if England would have lost this game, I would have been like, oh well, it is a shame for them and what have you. But I don't know how to explain it, but more like that was the moment where I was like, this isn't my thing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
You know, this isn't like this is beyond me. This is about the women.
Yeah.
And what I just don't know what they can achieve, and it's all just felt so flipping Crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
what a celebration. I love the goal as well.
Yeah, just the ultimate scrappy sod off. This is going in goal. That is brilliant, and the fact that she turns around and has a quick check for. I'm assuming she's just checking if it's offside because you can see her lift her shirt up first and then go.
Yeah, it's the.
Wait a minute, I'm not doing this if
Yeah.
it's just going to be VAR or offside or whatever, which is quite interesting because it goes on for about 5 seconds, and there's a group of England players just going. Can we celebrate? Which is, this is my problem of the worst side of VAR.
It is.
When you've got right, is this allowed? Is it the biggest moment in, English football history in this context? And it's like, can I celebrate?
I think they just about mitigated it, didn't they?
Yes.
Because she started a run.
Yeah.
And she was still kind of running and she was
yeah.
looking away to check. And then it was, topped off with the top off.
Yeah.
Did she get booked?
Yes, she definitely got booked for that.
Yeah.
But and what a story as well. She hadn't really made major contributions when coming on, apart from obviously being part of the team. I don't think she'd registered an assist and she hadn't scored, definitely. But, this Euros were delayed due to the men's Euros being delayed 1 year due to COVID. So, due to the delay, Chloe Kelly was able to recover from her ACL injury and be part of the squad. Little moments like that are just what makes everything better, isn't it? And what make this the moment of what it was and everything like that. And then you go, actually, she wouldn't have even been here if this was a year ago when it should have happened. And how many examples of stories and why sport is so great and redemption do you see, which make it layers upon more stories.
Oh, so good. Just to jump back into how we led into the goal. I said Germany bottled it. That's definitely not the case.
No.
I think it does go back to the defence and that period in sort of the first half where I think Germany were kind of out of ideas and England just weren't.
No.
And they weren't out to fight.
No, and there's bravery in there as well. As the ball kind of comes in, there's 6 players for England either in or around Germany's penalty area. So they're not just sitting back and going, right, we've got to take this. It felt like organised defence, and it felt like, like a Mourinho's team who would at times, in these best days, would control a game without the ball.
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite to that point where England are controlling this game, because I do think they went into the pattern of, it's England and we don't really have the ball too much at this point. But they never felt overawed or out of the game. And to still put that many people forward for the corner showed the bravery for it too.
And, basically, get that ball in that net.
It's going in somehow. You're going in with it if you don't want to.
Yes. Now, with 10 minutes to go, the game gets back into its rhythm/lack of rhythm for a few minutes, before England pretty much start trying to play in the corner with 5 minutes still to go. I remember when they first took it to the corner with 5 minutes to go, and I went, pfft.
Do you not know what time it is?
Yeah, literally, do you not know what time it is? Because that is too long.
Yeah.
Anyway, and actually, you know what? It's just not.
No.
They're just nailing. I've never seen anyone nail playing the ball in the corner like that.
No, not at all. I thought it was never too much where you go, actually, if this is happening to us, I'd be really annoyed, because when teams throw someone the ball, and actually like a ball boy or girl will throw a ball to a footballer and they'll just let it hit them and go, oh, I didn't even pick it up. It never felt quite too much like that, but there was enough in there with those little kind of micro time wasting moments where you were like, yeah, they know what they're doing. This has been rehearsed. This is planned.
Yeah.
And they've done it before in the Spain game.
Yeah, it's playing the ball in the corner as an art.
Massively. There should be a thesis done on what they do in this last period.
Russo nearly makes it 3-1 with just one of those. It's like in the midst of Germany trying to clear it. Once they do get it from the corner, they try and kick it away, and then it just somehow ends up in Russo's path.
Yeah.
It was a good save, really, but
Yeah.
that would have lifted the roof off the stadium.
That would have been it. That would have been real party time, wouldn't it? Everybody
Yeah.
would have been on the pitch. It would have just been crazy, and that's a sign of it. That was an opportunity where the game is really stretched.
Over time, I just really relaxed and enjoyed England's corner work. The clock wasn't going slow.
No.
Which is just crazy, just doing that and being in control. Around 116 minutes into the game, we have one of my favourite pieces of commentary I think I've ever heard.
On the verge of history. This England team will be the ones whose names are remembered, but imperative to remember those who came before. The ones who struggled, the ones who had to pay to play, who sacrificed their time, their money, and at times their dignity, all because they wanted to play football. And as Jill Scott put it, this is for them. If they get their hands on that trophy, it is their hands on it as well.
She said that in messages that we've had between each other. It's for those girls, those lionesses who are here, who are working as police officers and firefighters and teachers and TAs in factories, having had a not so sparkling career as a lioness in the platform that these girls have today context. For Carol Thomas, the first ever captain in 1984. Jill Coulthard, my first ever captain I played under. And for so many lionesses whose names won't be sung around Wembley, but are never ever forgotten as to why they are here today.
I just thought this was fascinating, and watching this, there was an atmosphere in the pub, but I could hear it, and I was just like, I'm fine. The commentary team just breaks down the history of the women who have played football in such difficult circumstances for England over the years, working 2 jobs, playing football in their spare time, with the teams having no funding, no support, just ambition to change things for themselves and for generations to come as well, by breaking down this sporting barrier. The note that how if England win this game, it won't just be this team's trophy, but every single one of those women who have done all of that over the years to lead up to this. And it was just incredible. A little bit early to talk about it. We've still a few minutes left on it, but to hear it and it just puts into perspective, it's actually been a fight.
Yeah.
Like it's actually been a real uphill battle that a lot of really strong people have had to fight to just to do something that's fun and positive and should be. It's a sport, and it's not like. I mean, come on, women are some of the best UFC fighters.
Yeah.
If it's about danger or anything like that, which it shouldn't be, football's a sport that anyone can play.
Yeah.
So why is it taking so long?
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, it's the people that have come before them as well. I mean, you hear a lot of this England team, and they talk a lot about your Alex Scotts, Kearneys, Alucos. And actually, they're their idols growing up, and they still feel kind of part of the team.
Yeah.
Like they never feel like that's the old generation. We don't want to talk about them. We idolise them, but they slag us off on TV every week, or they do all this other stuff. There's a much more an inclusive style to them as well, where it still feels like they're part of the furniture. And there was a little bit of talk of not all the players, the ex-players who wanted to come to the game, were able to get tickets to it. That's always going to be a problem with finals, but this felt like a lot more of the majority of the right people were there. And actually, after an England career these days, you're looked after a lot more. And you have the feeling that these people would be as well, no matter what happens to them.
I agree. Meanwhile, while I wipe the tears from my eyes, we've less than 30 seconds of normal time to go, and England still have it in Germany's corner. 2 minutes are adding on. The ball is still in Germany's corner, and before you know it...
England need to stand firm. They've run the clock down. They have played this perfectly. But this isn't over yet. Final throw of the dice for Germany. Froome sends it forward. Jill Scott is there first. Then Ella Toon. It's all over! England, European champions for the very first time. History makers, record breakers, game changers. 2022, the year of the Lioness. And Rachel, we can say those 3 words, finally, those 3 words that we've banned throughout this tournament. It's home.
Unbelievable. I'm tearful with joy with all of the years that players have been out on the pitch, have been rallying their teams and promoting the sport on and off the pitch, having a professional persona when you weren't getting paid, but everything that people have put in this era, previous eras, today has made everything worthwhile. Well done, England. The world is proud of you.
They've had to fight. They've had to...
England have won Euro 2022.
Champions.
Champions. What were you worried about? This was always going to happen. This is exactly how it was planned.
This is the one that we thought, this is going to be the one, isn't it? This is the one. And now it's actually, just for a treat and to actually ignite something in a lot of the nation that people probably didn't think they'd care about. But actually, you get to this point and it is so important and so impressive and so just jubilation, really.
I'm not saying this to try and have a hot take, and I don't think it is a hot take, but we came so close as the men's team. And this just means more.
Yeah, culturally, what's bigger? Would it have been the men's team winning that final last year, or is it this? I think this culturally does a lot more because there's more children that are watching this. They're able to see it. They're seeing a better example of everything that happened outside of Wembley for obvious reasons.
It's almost like building a new sport now.
Yeah, and there's a bigger platform for it. You would be building on an existing sport that has already got, the most fans, blah, 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 all the eyes on it in the world. But now there's a new platform for this too.
Yeah. As I say, it's not an attempt at a hot take.
No.
It's just these are the things. This is a game we watched a few days ago live, so you can remember exactly what you're thinking at the time, and I'm just being truthful. The celebrations, though, will live long in the memory. Three Lions starts the blast pretty much instantly.
We've got to have a new version of that now, haven't we?
They did one. They did.
Oh, didn't Badil do one with, I don't know who it was. Was it a singer, was it?
I just don't know what was.
I think it was a songwriter and former footballer. I think she was. I only saw a name come up in the build-up, I think. David Badil's done one, and they did it live on stage with the Lightning Seeds, I want to say.
And Wiegman. She has a little party.
Oh, the little pause and the backwards jig Wiegman does with her staff as she runs on the pitch. Because as it full time goes, it goes to Wiegman. And she just turns around like it's just like any other game of when you got to shake the manager's hand of yeah, well done. And then the smile just breaks out on her face and she runs backwards as she wants to be in that situation where she can see her staff be involved and enjoy and run on. And it's right. It's happened. What we've come to do here has been achieved.
A really nice touch as well. Shows the professionalism. England players pretty much straight away as well go and console the... I think Three Lions is still playing when they go and console the Germans.
Definitely still playing.
And just once they've got that sort of formality out the way, it becomes apparent that these girls like a party.
Yes.
You can kind of see a bit of a... This is not going to be sort of professional conduct so much. No. We've had enough of that.
Yeah, we're sick of all the professionalism. We want to see just real people now.
And you start to see, we start to see the real people, you know, behind it, and they just seem like a great bunch of personalities. Chloe Kelly interviewed, and after about 2 seconds, runs off to sing "Sweet Caroline" with the fans and the team.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? And it's we've never seen the men's team win anything, but here this just feels more real. I know Russo nipping off during the Sweden celebration to sing "Sweet Caroline." I think she even says, "I love this song. I just want to get off and sing it." And then Kelly here, just instead of just saying anything else, she just goes, "Well, I'm going to sing it into the mic and I'm going to scream it, and if that's the best thing." And where it's high level competitive sport, this just feels like a sweller celebration. And as well, the expectation hasn't been put on these people for all the years through what you'd say the men's team were, where they've just turned into robots, and a lot of men's players have. Yeah. These people feel like they are better for not having all the years of you've got to win this, the pressure, the disappointment, the abuse that you get in a different way to the way these have as well. And course, they're better for it.
Absolutely. Back in the studio, Alex Scott literally can't even get a sentence out. Can't blame her at all. Ian Wright's buzzing.
Yeah, always.
Always buzzing, but particularly so. I just think it's great how someone who's such a genuinely nice person, he's played a perfect part in this story from a fan's perspective. He's a man in there, of course, but he's a great ambassador for inclusion, football, and positivity. It isn't about the member. I think he added something that you can... God, any party, add Ian Wright to it, and it becomes just a much more wholesome event, doesn't it?
It does. Even after the Sweden game, I remember him talking about there should be no excuse now for girls not to be able to play football, or they shouldn't be allowed to, which is obviously correct.
It's obviously correct, but sometimes it just takes somebody who's already known to everyone. Imagine the amount of blogs who go, "Oh, he's funny, isn't he, that Ian Wright," or whatever, and then he says that, and they may have otherwise be
thought
negative
something else,
on but then you can't dispute it, can you?
No, and I guess it's someone actually saying something into existence where you're actually saying, this should happen and this should happen. When you put personalities like that who are open to change, it should put the pressure onto people. I think I've even seen today, I think the Lionesses have released a statement to the government to say, things have got to change now, really, after they've got over their hangovers.
That's the sad thing, though, as well, is that there's a Conservative Party leadership battle going on, isn't there? And they both made pledges about it, and it's like, the pun, excuse the pun, but it's just a political football then.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want it to become that. Imagine if this momentum is held up by a lack of funding because of Rishi Sunak or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who he got a mention on this pod, I don't know.
Yeah.
Back to a real...
I'm pretty sure this is the second mention he's got. I'm pretty sure you called him Dishy Rishi a couple of months ago.
Oh, fucking no. Back to a real leader. Wiegman's interview is fantastic. I actually think she's overwhelmed in terms of the Wembley atmosphere. I think she's like, Christ, this is a bit... English are a bit different to the Dutch, aren't they?
Whoa, these guys, look at them.
Beautiful sentiment, though. She talks about how the team spoke very early on in her time about professional behaviour and squad unity. And she said that, what we spoke that day wasn't just words. It was something that we all agreed to genuinely live by. And you don't get this far without doing it. You don't get this far without treating this tournament as shit. And especially when you're fighting for something more. Yeah. You can't go, we can't get pissed up and celebrate because who's going to remember us if we go out in the quarterfinals? It sounds a bit harsh. Yeah. But you're definitely going to make there's bigger things at play here. We can all get pissed up after the final.
No. Well, they definitely do. But, Wiegman as well, just more and more impressive, becomes the first manager in football to win back-to-back World Cups or European Championships with two different international sides. Just amazing. Wiegman is also only the second manager in Euros or World Cup history to win one of these trophies as a foreign coach. Do you know the other one?
I'm just going to guess a big Phil Scolari.
No, it's not Phil.
Is it not?
No. Phil's only ever won the one World Cup.
Yeah.
In fairness,
Klinsmann?
No.
No.
It is Otto Rehhagel.
Who's that?
He was the Greece manager when they won the Euros. So he's the only person who's ever won. Now it's Wiegman as well, to win a trophy without your own national side.
Yeah, Klinsmann was an awful shout.
When he was England manager, you don't remember that week? Stuart Pearce.
The post-match press conference is great as well.
Yeah, the England team just break into the conference and just totally disrupt what Weigman's talking about. And I'm just like, I've never seen an England team ever do that, or any team I follow. It's always like South American sides who just come in.
Yeah. What are they saying?
Yeah, what's going on? It's just like, la, la, la. And you can hear the whole England team screaming at this point as well.
Poor Alexandra Popp, though. Let's take a moment there. She shares the golden boot with Beth Mead. Her influence could have been massively felt for Germany there.
Yeah, hugely. Both with 6 goals apiece. Beth Mead also took home the player of the tournament for her heroics as well.
Yep, fair play to Beth Mead, who I'm pretty sure Jen told me was her favourite. I don't know why, maybe. Yeah, she's not really into women's football, but she watched the game, loved it. It was really just something I noted was that we stuck around while the celebrations were happening. We weren't in the best pub, but it was a pub that was showing the game.
It was a pub.
And there were better pubs open.
Yeah.
So Jen was like, should we go and get a drink somewhere else then now, celebrate? I was like, yeah, sure. Just started to pick up my coat and I was like, hang on. They haven't lifted the trophy yet.
Oh my God.
We've got to stay for that bit.
That's the best bit.
You're just so not used to it. It's not even a bit though, is it, that we would know?
No, I remember after the Euros last year, I was just like, literally as soon as the last penalty was missed, I was just like, we're getting out of here. I'm having nothing to do with this anymore.
Yeah. The celebrations continue into the next day and some really iconic images of very hungover Lionesses.
In some of the biggest glasses you've ever seen in the world, I was just with Nike shirts on that just says home. And it is just, that is such a nice way to do it, isn't it?
Let's have a quick look then at the wider aftermath. Ella Toon, score of the opener.
She said she was going to get her lashes done because she was off to Ibiza. I thought that was like the great little line.
Very not humanising, but very real. I think whatever you can do in this day and age, when there's so many like people who live their lives falsely through Instagram and everything like that, just little bits of really relatable stuff, for better or for worse, you know.
We definitely relate to getting our lashes done and going to Ibiza, don't we?
I bet that, well...
Even in our 20s, when we'd have been really into that, yeah.
What's up next then for England?
Yeah, so we've got a World Cup next year, followed by an Olympic tournament the following year, and it does feel like this could be the start of something for this generation.
Yeah, looking ahead with the World Cup on the horizon, the team appear to be hungry for more. Chloe Kelly said regarding trophy wins after the game, 1 is not enough, we want more. Looking at this medal makes you so much hungrier for more. The World Cup is around the corner. I want to win trophies. As a young girl, you grow up seeing people win trophies, and we're here doing that.
To have like the notion to say that after the game as well, and to actually have already won something, and that mentality of we need to do it again.
How easy would it be to say, I'll remember this moment for the rest of my life?
We've reached the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
This is the greatest thing, which she may have said as well. Oh, this is the greatest moment of my career. But yeah, a much better interview of what she had to do with Richard Madeley the other day. Did you see this?
No.
So she unfortunately was put onto his show, and she was put through the Madeley Partridge vortex, and. Yeah. I think he ended it with, thank you, Chloe. I'll call you Coco. That's my daughter's name is Chloe, so I'll call you Coco. Thanks, Coco. And her face is everything you imagine. It's just like, you know that meme of the bloke screaming into that woman's ear in the club, and she's just like stony face, like, what the hell is this idiot say?
Well, luckily she'll never have to do one of those again.
Well, hopefully she won't ever be asked to do one again, because no one needs to be put through that, do they?
It's not just the players who are hungry for more; the fans are too. England are going to play Denmark at Wembley on October the 7th, with tickets going on sale just yesterday prior to us recording. Demand was so huge that fans were held in queues online of more than 45,000 people. We've also just seen an England versus USA friendly announced for October this year.
Yeah, 7th of October at Wembley, which is the European champions versus the world champions. It feels like, even though that is kind of a set piece and a friendly whatever, that feels like a big moment. I mean, USA are seen as the dominant force in world football, so one to keep an eye on. And we kind of touched on it earlier. The most recent and memorable game between the two was 2019 World Cup, and I think before that, I've looked at the schedule. We could do that game. I think we should. We should look at that game, and in advance of the USA friendly, just go and see maybe kind of what started all this, all the players on this road as well, and how close they came to really matching up with the best in the world at that time.
The FA's director of women's football, Sue Campbell, was asked where a statue of Sarina Wiegman would be built, and without irony responded with probably St George's Park.
Yeah.
Excellent. You'd love to see that.
Why not? Deservedly as well.
So the final was watched by a peak TV audience of 17.4 million on the BBC, and with a packed stadium. Is there any looking back for the women's game in England now?
You really hope not, yeah. And you look at also record numbers in Germany as well, even though, like I said, that their own league isn't quite what it used to be. To have that involvement and an interest again in it still after their years of domination, maybe this has just started something in them too. And the biggest compliment you can pay is having your own Google homepage when you go on the site. And in the start, the first thing I did was Google Euro 2022, and the first thing that comes up is England 2, Germany 1, and confetti and fireworks goes off on the page, and you have the flag that comes up with England on it. Did you think you'd see the day?
I didn't.
No,
I didn't even actually see that day. I didn't see.
I think it's still up. I looked today. You can still get it, which is just a nice little thing.
Oh, that was a nice little thing.
I loved that.
But was it England?
Well, 2 finals in 2 years. It's not traditionally England, but I hope it could be England.
I couldn't say it any better than that. How do you feel then?
Good. I feel invigorated, and I feel that was something that when we suggested it, I didn't feel like I'd feel this good about doing it afterwards, actually, but I feel like we've got a bit of a new love and a new interest, and actually to be involved, and hopefully, like I said at the start, to go on a journey for the next one as well. Yeah,
it needs to happen, and we'll have to find that time in our diary to squeeze in some of the women's football.
Yeah, they'll never listen to this, but we'll have to tell our partners that we're going to be a bit more busy.
Amazing, and I hope we've not been too comparing it to the men's game or anything like that. I think it's the same sport.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't imagine that any of the players will be upset at being compared to like Bale,
Yeah.
and you know, and
Zidane and these others, yeah,
and great teams. But sincerely, my main takeaway is I just thought, imagine watching that game as a young girl, and imagine how many people are going to be inspired, and just imagine the future, and it'll be referenced. And this is history.
This really is.
Even, as we say, probably more so than if England would have beat Italy last year. So we can stop putting that down as the worst day ever, because it doesn't seem as bad now.
Yeah, we may not have felt it at the time, but for years to come, there will be a bigger thing for a lot of more people, actually, than just England men winning the final. And, you know, maybe one day that day will come and we can enjoy it in a different way to this. But for a generation of other people that are younger than us, who it's going to be their future, they've got the chance now.
Sometimes, Nick, you can't always get what you want, but you might just get what you need.
There you go.
Thank you, everybody.
You may be a stranger. That's what time can do. Baby, you mean everything to me.
Chloe, England are European championships. What have you just done?
Oh my God! Look at them! It's amazing, honestly. Thank you, every single person that got out to support us. This is unreal. Sweet Caroline.
Well, hopefully Chloe Kelly gave the microphone back there. We'll need that for some other players, but I don't blame her for going to celebrate with her teammates there. Look at these scenes.